I do thank you all for being here today, particularly in such inclement weather, though certainly a day in which the weather, I think, adds to the beauty of the place that we're in.
I'd like to pay great homage to the surveyors above all, who in a harsh and unfamiliar environment still had a vision of what could be achieved. How beautiful. Oh, lovely.
Canberra has a birthday coming up in 2013 and there are many stories attached to that. One of them certainly is a surveying story. But when you talk about people who know anything about that, they're likely to talk about Charles Scriven and his generation around about 1909, 1910, 1911. But the surveying story is much, much older than that. It goes all the way back in the Canberra area to the 1820s and 1830s. Now the ABC's own Serena Locke can tell us a bit about that from first-hand knowledge of her family.
My great-great-grandfather was Robert Hoddle, and people may know him for Hoddle Road and Hoddle Bridge in Victoria because he became the Surveyor General of Victoria. But in the 1830s, he was the second surveyor to arrive in this area. In fact, he camped by Lake George and it was then full of water, and the whole area was surrounded by smoke. He said that the whole place had bushfires at the time that he was there and he had trouble breathing. But the surveyors of those eras, and he came second after Dixon, Robert Dixon was before Robert Hoddle. The surveyors of those eras had to deal with convicts, bullocks that ran astray, horses that bucked them off, provisions that were absolutely inedible and supplemented then by whatever they could shoot. And in one of my great-great-grandfather's stories, he blew his hand in a shotgun accident shooting birds, and it troubled him for the rest of his life. But in terms of trying to survey the area, he had to beg for provisions from the Surveyor General of the time, which was Major Mitchell. And Major Mitchell was a rather cynical and perhaps a difficult man to deal with. And so Robert Hoddle writes in his journal about, his workers' clothes being torn to shreds, and just the inclement weather, the very changeable weather, especially around the northern part of this region of Goulburn and in Canberra as well.
It was too good an opportunity to pass up to interview Kathy, who is a relative of Happy Harry Mowat. In fact, I'm surrounded here by both Sheaf and Mowat relatives, and it's probably significant that the wives of both Harry and Percy also came up here, so you can see the stock that we're talking about. They're having no trouble, I'm having great trouble. But Kathy, can I just ask, you used to come up here, you said a little bit of rock climbing yourself?
Oh yes, definitely. More before I had children. I haven't done quite so much since, but yeah, we come up to Mount Koori for rock climbing.
And it gives you, were you conscious of the kind of connection to your forebear when you were doing that?
Oh yes, very much so. My mother and grandmother keep us well informed about what our forebears have been up to.
Okay, and to state the obvious, it'll now be an incentive for the children and the children's children to come up here and see the plaque, which is a great thing to have.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful to have this recognised.
It is good, and of course we're recognising the border survey from 1910 to 1915. It was a major moment. They were made of hardy stuff, and the weather today is giving us some idea of how hardy they had to be.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Make our way back down to Stromlo if we could, where lunch will be a lunch and towels. And towels. And a cup of tea. And a hot cup of tea.
Bill, I'm thinking it's lucky that we chose coming 4 weeks forward, not to be on the exact centenary so that we got the good weather.
Yeah, that's right.
Being here today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get down to the warmth.
Need to go out.